Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to talk to you about the out-of-the-box experience with the bookmarking framework of Emacs. First we will learn what are bookmarks, how we can use them and how we can incorporate them into our workflow to store and retrieve basically arbitrary information about points of interest that we can access from inside of Emacs. So in this presentation, I will also cover some of my minor extensions for the bookmarking framework, extensions which are part of my custom Emacs configuration, my .emacs, and to which I will provide links to in the description of this video. So first of all, what are bookmarks before we begin with any kind of demonstration? Bookmarks are compartments, areas where we can store data persistently. And this data, those records that we can store, contain information about the file name, the position of the point in that file, and arbitrary entries as well. We will see some of those in action. And then we can retrieve that information and restore that file and that context to where it was the moment we took the bookmark. So let's see this in action. I am now visiting a file, of course. This happens to be my .emacs, and I am in the section about bookmarks, what I have written here. And what I want to do is create my first bookmark. We create bookmarks with the command Ctrl+X_RM, which is the command bookmark set. There are a lot of key bindings under the Ctrl+X_R prefix, most notably registers. And the reason why bookmarks are bundled up together with registers is because internally bookmarks and registers are very similar. They are both used as compartments to store data persistently. But anyhow, it doesn't really matter. Key bindings are something you can always change in Emacs, but we are now using the defaults. Ctrl+X_RM to set a bookmark. It produces a mini buffer prompt. You can see at the lower part of my screen over here. And it is asking me for a name to add to this new record that it will create. Inside of square brackets, we have the default name of this bookmark. So if I just hit the return key, the text inside of the square brackets will become the name of the bookmark, but I can always write something more informative, more descriptive. For example, let's write bookmarks in my .emacs. And we can hit the return key to confirm our choice. So we have successfully created a bookmark, a new record for this file that we are currently visiting and the specific point inside of this file. Then once we have accumulated bookmarks, when we want to visit a bookmark, we can use the command Ctrl+X_RB, and this prompts with completion for a bookmark to visit. So of course I have more bookmarks than the one I just shown, but let's see bookmark. So you can see if you type something, it narrows the list and I can go straight to that bookmark. Let's kill this buffer now and see how we can use bookmarks more effectively and why they are very useful. As I said, they are storing information persistently. So even though the buffer no longer exists, I can still visit the underlying file. I can still effectively recreate that buffer. So Ctrl+X_RB, and let's type the bookmark. Let's go to this specific point that we had over there. And you can see that it is restoring the file and taking me exactly to where I was. The headings are folded. This is an org mode buffer. The headings are folded because of some local variables that I have. This is expected and desired behavior. But of course, this is something up to your configuration. Of course, we can always expand the heading and we can see already from the context that we are exactly where we were when we created the bookmark. let me visit another bookmark in the same file that I have created. So prot Emacs. So you can see I have another bookmark, and you can see it is already taking me to the top of the file. So let me kill this buffer again, and let's do this once more. So you can see it is taking me to the top. Let's go like this, and you see it is taking me further below now. So the idea is that you can always have multiple bookmarks for the same file, each of which is pointing to a different location, a different context inside of the file. And that of course makes a lot of sense. It is very useful for large files where you have many points of interest and you want to be able to retrieve them with efficiency and ease. For example, this document over here is over 75,000 words long, so of course you don't want to have just a bookmark at the top of the page. That wouldn't be as useful as the ability to have multiple bookmarks, each inside of a specific context. So this is about setting a bookmark and then switching between your stored bookmarks using mini buffer completion. There is another option for viewing and managing bookmarks, which is a tabulated list. Control X, R, and the letter L will produce a list with all our bookmarks. And this list provides the name of the bookmark. You can see this column over here. This is the name of the bookmark, and then the underlying file of the bookmark. The file is not always correct, but we will discuss this a bit later. For example, you see here it says file, but then we have man bspwm, that is no file. Here it says file, here it says something else, so it's not really a file, this one over here. Maybe you could argue that it is, but it's inside of an e-shell. We will see this in a minute. At any rate, from this view over here, we can select a bookmark for whichever bookmark we want and hit the return key and visit that item. For example, this is the bookmark I created at the beginning of this video, and you can see I am visiting it right away. Let's kill this buffer, visit it again. You can see how it works. Same principle with the Control X RB command. Same principle here. But here we have some more commands that we can use, and when you are in a new mode that happens that applies to every mode in Emacs, every buffer, you can do Control H and M. Control H M, describe mode is the command, and you will see over here, you can see over here that there are all sorts of other commands that we can use. For example, incrementally search for bookmarks. Let's try this. So I hit the / and I search for bookmark. You can see already how it is narrowing the list in live time without me hitting any further key. So that's always very useful, and you can always check those at your own pace and see how they work. We don't need to do this now. What we need to do now is we want to see some different kinds of bookmarks than the file-specific bookmarks that I just demonstrated. You can see over here that there are different colors in this buffer, and this is one of my extensions. This is my doing, and it's just for me to be able to quickly differentiate between, for example, those are PDFs. You can see they are in a faint red color. The others, which are in a faint blue color, are directories. Those with a more intense color, blue color, are URLs. So we are visiting something online on the internet. So let's visit a directory. Let's visit my modus themes. You can see it is just visiting a directory, just as you would have come to expect through this short demo already. And we can also visit a PDF. For example, I have over here, let's say, excavations in Paphos. This is a booklet about some work that archaeologists are doing in a site in Cyprus, and this is an expedition, a Polish expedition, so it is in collaboration with the Polish state, with the embassy of Poland in Cyprus. Let's see another PDF, and this is about the Treaty of Aachen. It was ratified recently, but let's not go into details. As with files, you can always have bookmarks inside of PDFs that point to specific contexts. So let's say this is page 4. So let's do this as well. We can, when you are at the mini buffer prompt, let's do this slowly. Meta and n will, of course, put in the buffer the information that you already have over there, and then meta p will cycle through what is available through your future or previous history. So in this case, we want to have this text over here, and we want to, let's say, prepend the page. So page 4. And let's do that. Let's kill this buffer over here. And we can see that we have page 4 over here. Let's visit it. You can see, again, same principle with what I showed earlier with the file. We are visiting a different context from the one I had before. In this buffer, you can always kill, you can always delete a bookmark. So we can do that. We can mark it for deletion with the letter D and then confirm our choice with the letter X. And this has been deleted. Another thing we can do is that we can write annotations for bookmarks and have those be presented to us when we are visiting a bookmark. There is an option to do this at the time of recording the bookmark entry, but I find that can be an impediment to your workflow. It's better to have this after the fact to put a bit more thought into it. So let's say I want to write something about this bookmark over here. I want to write an annotation. Let's expand this buffer. I hit the letter E to edit the text of the annotation, and it is telling me here, type the annotation for bookmark, the name of the bookmark. All lines starting with the column will be deleted, so these do not count towards the annotation, and type Ctrl+C twice to record your input. If you have an empty buffer like this, if you have not written anything and type Ctrl+C twice, it will simply ignore your input. So you have to write something. So let's say this is a place I would like to visit and also learn more about the Polish expedition, for example, like this. Let's have it like this. And let's store this annotation. Okay, so now that I have the annotation, you can see that there is an asterisk next to that entry over there. And now when I visit this bookmark, you will notice in the lower buffer over here, there is the annotation. So this is something for me to keep in mind, something that may be related to the context. You can write whatever you want. So it's up to you to make best use of this facility. So let's kill this, and we can edit the annotation again. Just remove it and type Ctrl+C twice. You see there is no longer an asterisk, so this means there is no longer an annotation. When there is an annotation, you can also press A, but I just deleted it, and it will just pop up the annotation. So nothing fancy about it. Just some basic stuff which you can find from the Ctrl+H+M help buffer that I talked about, that I mentioned earlier. Here you will notice that I have a couple of eShell bookmarks. The one is pointing to an eShell buffer in my dot files, so in a local path of my local user, and the other one is visiting the root of my file system over Trump. It is using Trump, the framework that Emacs has to access various protocols for file access. And this one is using super user privileges to visit the root of my file system. Let's first check this eShell for my dot files. You can see that if I type who am I, it says that I am prot. So it is my local user. Let's kill this buffer. And let's go to the other one, which is over Trump with sudo, with super user privileges. So let's do that. Who am I? So here I am root. So here I can perform administrative tasks just like that. I don't have to log in again. This is wonderful. This is very helpful. And I would assume I don't have access to SSH, so I cannot test Trump over SSH or other such protocols, but I would assume, I would expect for this same principle to apply over SSH, and you can imagine how powerful and efficient that would be. So it is very nice. What else we have here? Here we have some bookmarks for the VC dir buffer. I understand this is kind of a niche functionality. Not many people use VC. I do. I use it in parallel to Magit. I also use Magit, but I also use VC with all sorts of extensions that I have written for it. You can check my video backlog for VC. But let's visit one anyhow. So this is the familiar VC buffer. Now it is clean because I haven't done anything to it. But from here I can perform the various operations that I would like. So for example, to get a log of the recent commits, to pull in new data and the like, all sorts of information that all sorts of operations rather that you can do with Git, and it's outside the scope of this demo to talk about VC. Here we have some man pages, and it can be either with the man program or with the woman program. So woman is the eLisp implementation that can visit man pages without the man program. So the man program is something you install in your system. So let's check this man page over here. You can see that I am visiting it. We can kill it and we can visit it again. Same principle as with other bookmarks. So the fact that it is a man page is irrelevant insofar as bookmarks are concerned. And here I have some more extensions. So those are custom for the built-in Emacs text-centric browser, so EWW, and I have written a bookmark handler based on how VCDir does it. I basically copied that implementation and adapted it to my needs. And here I have written a handler, a bookmark handler for EWW, so I can store my bookmarks directly here instead of the EWW specific bookmarking facility, which I think should be deprecated, at least in my setup. So here I can visit, for example, my website. So I am right here. Let's say that I want to go to another page, and let's bookmark this page. So you can see that it is providing some text over here by default. I can delete this and keep this part only, and let's check our bookmarks again. You can see how it is over here, and you can see where it says file, it's actually the URL. So the word the file over here is kind of a misnomer. Yeah, it works with EWW as well. Is there something else here that I should show you, some other category of bookmark? In general, though, you can do, let's kill this, Emacs apropos function, and you can search for bookmark and then the word jump and hit the return key. And this, you can see over here, will produce an apropos buffer. So apropos means about, so in general what we have here. And you can see all the commands that implement a bookmark jump handler. So if you are using GNUs, you can have a GNUs buffer, so you can specify a news group and have that directly. You can have docview if you are using docview. There is for PDFs, as I already demonstrated, for images, so image mode, help bookmark, so for help buffers, and you can see help jump to help mode bookmark, and also for my prot EWW, and there may be more. Any package can implement its own handler. It just needs to write some glue code. It is fairly straightforward stuff. You just have to see how it is done. Again, this is outside the scope of this demo. Now, the nice thing about bookmarks is that if you are using Marginalia, so Marginalia is a package that provides completion annotations for the default mini buffer completion and for every other framework that is compliant with it, such as, for example, Vertigo or Selectrum. So Marginalia, and maybe Marginalia has implementations for Ivy as well, I'm not sure, but for the default, it definitely has. So the nice thing about Marginalia is that you get those annotations, so you can already see, so this is eShell, this is info, this is a file, prot EWW. And if you notice, when I hit the key binding Control X RB, the command is actually consult bookmark rather than the default command for visiting bookmarks. And the main difference here is that consult, which is a package by Daniel Mendler, and a superb package. Consult has this ability to create headings. This is built into Emacs 28, of course, the ability to create headings, but not many commands are using it. Consult is one of the commands that uses it. Daniel Mendler actually implemented it in Emacs 28. So those headings are always very useful to add some structure to the chaos. And also Consult has this option to narrow to specific headings. So for example, I only want to visit my links, so websites. I hit the letter W and then press escape, and you can see I have narrowed the list to just those records. And of course, same principle if I do F and then hit space for files and so on and so forth. This is configurable. Consult provides the relevant customization options. So let's go to my .emacs again. I think that is all, folks. I don't think there is something else for me to talk about. But this is already more than enough. It is about storing information persistently and retrieving it at a later point. And as I showed, you can restore a file and its context. It works very well. And also with eShell and Trump, that must be a killer feature for those of you who access remote computers as well. So as I said, I will provide a link to my .emacs from where you can check my configurations. You can also check my prot bookmark file, which provides those font lock rules, so those extra faces and that extra coloration that you saw in this buffer here. Those colors do not exist by default. By default, everything is the same color, and those are just bold, so it's a bit difficult. I think this adds a bit more structure without prejudice to the possibility of further refinements, but I think this is a step in the right direction. So you can check this as well, and there is always something for you to find here and be inspired by, or send me a patch in case you think I have made some mistake and I could fix this. So that's all for now, folks. Bookmarks for Emacs, the built-in, the out-of-the-box, essentially, bookmarking experience of Emacs with just a few configurations. And of course, my prot EWW, sorry, final thing, my prot EWW has also the bookmark handler, so you can check this. I wrote it earlier based on vcdir. vcdir.el, which is built into Emacs, so you can see I have this over here, so you can read this as well. That's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.